So none of what I'm about to tell you is going to matter if you don't burn more calories than you eat. In other words, if you don't be in a calorie deficit. Now, there could be a lot of factors playing a role in how many calories you burn on a day-to-day basis. These can be things like if you're fidgety or not, or if you're male or female, or if you're older or younger. That's why I recommend you get something like a smartwatch, because it'll tell you literally like how many calories you burn on a day-to-day basis, tailored specifically for you. But you need to keep updating your details, so because if it gets like wrong information that it's based off of, you're gonna get wrong results, as in like wrong data that depicts like how many calories you burn on a single day, on a single given day. That's why I recommend you go and weigh yourself every week to see how much you're losing in that week, and then you can input that into your Apple Watch in the settings. I think it's the health app on your iPhone. If you have a Apple Watch, if you have Samsung, I'm not really sure how that works. So sorry about that. And yeah, you just input your data, and it literally like tracks your data over time, and it tells you how many calories you're burning in a single given day based on that data itself. So I need to drill this into your head, because no matter what diet you're on, you're literally not going to lose any weight if you're eating more calories than you burn. So that, aka being in a calorie deficit. Okay, so now that we have established that a calorie deficit is the way to go, now let's get into how actually intermittent fasting can actually benefit you and aid you in fat loss. By the way, I'm not pulling shit out of thin air. I've been bulking and cutting for the past 6 years, so I have some experience in like cutting and like losing weight. I obviously look a lot overweight right now. That's because I've been bulking for a long time, for about 2 years, and now I'm starting to cut as we speak. So yeah, you can decide any way that you want to do intermittent fasting. There's literally like a lot of flexibility with it, which other diets don't really offer. So yeah, you can decide to go on a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour eating window. That's what most beginners do when they first get into intermittent fasting. But then you can, with experience and with time, you can literally extend your fasting time. Like for me personally, like I've been doing like 20-hour fast and like maybe even 21 sometimes, and a 4 hour eating window, so that I get all my calories, and so I guess like 2,000 calories or something like that. And it decreases every week as well, so that's why it's important to track your calories as well, no matter if you're doing intermittent fasting or not. I mean, even if you're doing intermittent fasting, that it's important to track your calories. So like a 20-hour fast and a 4 hour eating window is what I've seen work best for me. I'm not telling you guys to do like the same thing as me, but I've seen that work for like best for like fat loss. But as I said, you need to track your calories, be in a calorie deficit, no matter what diet you're on. If you're not in a calorie deficit, even if you fast for literally like 22 hours and eat only 2 hours, and that in that 2 hours, if you eat literally like more than your maintenance calories, you will gain weight. So you need to avoid that and be in a calorie deficit so that you lose weight. So you can't do that if you're not tracking your calories in the first place. So if you're doing a 16-hour fast and an 8 hour eating window, you don't really need like any fasting breaking protocols, because your body hasn't really been through that much for your stomach lining to be weak. So if you're doing anything beyond 20 hours, if you're fasting beyond 20 hours, then you need fasting breaking protocols in place. So what do I mean by protocols? By protocols, I mean like literally the way you break your fast, because your stomach lining, as I said, is going to be weak. So you need to reintroduce food in a way that your stomach is not going to go, oh shit, here's a lot of food that I need to digest, and it's going to take a lot more effort, and like your stomach, you're not going to be feeling that well. Your stomach's going to start to hurt a little bit, and I've experienced that, and I've learned that the hard way. So what you need to do is literally like reintroduce food with like a bone broth or like a soup or something like that, so that you break your fast accordingly. And it's also important to note that you need to have like a light meal straight after your fast. So you literally like, say you fast for like 20 hours, right? 20 hours or 22 hours, which is quite extreme, but like let's say 20 hours. You break your fast with a soup or bone broth, and then you have a light meal straight afterwards, not like a heavy meal, if you know what I mean, not like a feast. You can have your feast later in the day, like maybe like 1 or 2 hours into it. You can have like another meal that's like high in fat and like high carb and like high protein. You can have like a big meal afterwards, but like once you break your fast, like don't have like a big meal. Me personally, when I break my fast, I just have like chicken stock instead of like chicken bone broth or like soup, because I'm too lazy to fucking cook bone broth or like soup. So I just have like, in the supermarkets you get those cartons of like stock, like chicken stock. It doesn't taste that great, but it does get the job done. So if you want to opt for that, that's also an option. But I'm not forcing anything down your guys' throats. You guys can opt for anything. Obviously, the fresher, the better. And remember, if you opt for chicken stock, it doesn't really matter. It does get the job done with a lot less hassle. And remember, we're only here for one reason, to literally lose weight. And if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. So you don't really have to worry about anything. With intermittent fasting, you can literally eat big satiating meals in your feeding window, and you don't have to worry about like necessarily exceeding the amount of calories per meal, because you're eating only like 2 meals per day. So you're cutting out one whole meal entirely. So you're gonna have like have that calorie deficit so that you're looking for. So you can eat your favorite foods while still losing weight, which is pretty cool. Like I remember when I first started intermittent fasting, I couldn't believe it. Like I just lost like probably like 10 pounds or like 10 kg within like a space of like 2 months or something like that. Just because I was still eating like the same food, I just cut out like the one meal, and I did some cardio, like some like cardio toward the end. But that was pretty much it. That was my diet, and I lost like a lot of weight. That was like my first cut. So with doing intermittent fasting, you don't have to be that strict with your diet. You must have seen some other diets, like maybe like keto or like carnivore or like any other diet that's vegan or whatever. I mean, yeah, vegan or whatever. Um, doesn't really offer that much flexibility with like the way that it's structured. You limit certain foods. With intermittent fasting, you don't limit on certain foods. You don't put a limit on it. You just eat whatever, if it fits your macros, if you want to go that route. But I don't recommend you go that route, like, because if it fits your macros, it's pretty much like you eating anything you want, and literally like eating, and you end up eating like fast food and things like that. So it's better to keep it like whole foods. But intermittent fasting gives you that option to literally just eat whatever that you like, as long as you keep it to whole foods and like healthy food, if you know what I mean. And like none of these diets that I tried like before going on intermittent fasting literally worked for me. So I jumped on intermittent fasting and it literally worked for me in like a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It literally like worked for me. So if you're someone like me and you've tried every other diet there is, and you stumble upon intermittent fasting recently, you're in safe hands, because I tried the same thing and like it literally didn't work for me because it was so strict. And because it's so strict, it's not sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, you're not prone to doing it for a long period of time. And what happens when you don't do it for a long period of time? There's no consistency. When there's no consistency, you don't see results. So if you look at intermittent fasting, it's not really a diet itself. Like it's like a diet regimen routine sort of thing, but it's not like a strict diet plan. So you can call it a lifestyle, because when people start doing intermittent fasting, they literally do it for life, and not like a short period of time where people do diets and they get off the diet and they like get into their old eating habits, and then they gain the weight back up. So that's literally not what we want. We want to keep the weight off. So you literally get into intermittent fasting and you literally see results within like a couple of weeks. Okay, so probably not a couple of weeks, probably like a couple of months, you start seeing results. So in terms of like what to actually eat, don't restrict yourself too much. Just be logical with it, and eat whole foods most of the time. And you can eat that pizza or like that ice cream once in a while, so like once a week or like twice a week probably. but be logical about it. So I'd say like the 80-20 rule is like a good rule of thumb for like intermittent fasting. So where you eat so that's where you eat like 80% of whole foods and like 20% of quote unquote unhealthy food. So some people even opt to do OMAD, which is a 1 meal a day, which I don't recommend you do straight away or like do at all. To be honest, it's not really that sustainable. If you think about it, you literally disconnect yourself socially and things like that. So like if you don't have like a moderately open, a bigger eating window, so like 4 hours is like pretty decent, but 2 hours is like literally nothing. So you have to restrict yourself socially as well. If you think about it, if your friends ask you to come out for a lunch or a dinner, you can't go out because you restrict yourself. But yeah, so basically, those are the main protocols that you need to stick to if you're doing intermittent fasting. Literally, like a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour feeding window, or a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour eating window. Literally, what you want to do, you can choose. I recommend starting with a 16-hour fast and 8-hour eating window and going from there. But you can do whatever you want. I did a 16-hour fasting window and 8-hour eating window for like 2 days, and then I transitioned over into 20-hour fast with a 4-hour eating window. So that's literally what you want to do. You can pick and choose, and just adhere to the fasting breaking protocols as well, and the diet protocols as well. Obviously, I recommend drinking a lot of water as well. Water is a key component of fasting. You can drink sparkling water if you want, but I recommend just drinking because you can have like what do you call it, acid reflux and things like that. If you drink like sparkling water for some people, it's not for all people, obviously. I know Gregor Gallagher recommends drinking sparkling water, but I recommend drinking just normal water. Normal spring water would do. So I hope you learned something from this video, and if you don't mind, just on your way out, if you can leave a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.